A little bit further east, a few hundred yards further east, heading towards Sandy Bay, and we have got the predominantly red mudstone, the darker red, with the rivulets, with the little channels where waters come down, and then some beds higher up, which are the harder sandstone, which are about 1 metre thick, and they stand out because they erode differently. They're more robust. But the blocks, if you look higher up the cliff, you'll see some of the blocks appear to be breaking off, not quite at right angles, but there are chunks which are clear, and they're joint planes. When the pressure of any layers above here were eroded over millions of years, then the pressure lifts and the blocks open up, and they are the blocks that form the beach. We've got numerous rock falls which have occurred over a period of time, and they may have occurred over many decades or a few years, or we'll go back in a minute and see whether they've occurred over a couple of days ago. Now, if you look carefully at the cliff, you'll see that there is one big gully, which is where water has found it easier to work its way down, and that is because that is a fault plane. The layers which are chunkier, the lighter coloured ones, don't meet up across this gully. They appear to be broken because one side has moved relative to the other, and that's a fault. It's difficult sometimes to make out which one matches with which, but it's quite likely that the block on the right has moved down about 15 metres to the one on the left. On the seabed, or sorry, on the beach I should say, we've got the blocks where some of them are with the lighter coloured layering, where that has had the iron oxide reduced and gives you clear cut layers which are no longer the red, and they've fallen in a way that they are not, I wouldn't say horizontal, but a number of them have fallen nicely. So one thing to bear in mind on any of these beaches is do not stand under the cliffs, and if you had one of these come down, then you would certainly feel it, and we'll see in a minute where it fell down 2 days ago. Right, we've come back westwards a few hundred yards now to the point where the old steps used to be, and as you can see, the old steps are no longer, they've not been there for some time. But the warning about not being too close to the cliffs, well, this piece of cliff came down just a few days ago. So it's happening all the time. Just a reminder that it's never safe to walk under cliffs. Another couple of hundred yards back west, and we've got another feature where behind me the fairly robust looking solid cliffs on the right, where 2/3 of the cliff is made up of sandstone and above it's a mudstone, and on the left we have got the cliffs where most of it is the darker, more crumbly mudstone, and in between we've got what appears to be where there's a gap, and that feature not only appears in the cliff, but down here the beach has got a prominent area of wave-cut platform rock which is at the beach level, whereas on the other side, to our right, to your right, is a beach where it's sand. And the feature here, right under where I'm pointing, is the fault plane, which is filled in with a breccia, which is where the two sides have moved. It breaks up the rock and re-cements, and you get this feature which is marking up to the point where the two layers have moved. And there's another part to this which we'll move around to in just a moment. But in just a moment, if we turn round and see at a slightly lower angle, how this child's moved, that we've got here effectively the fault plane is where this prominent harder material is, which is where it's cemented the pieces which have where the movement's taken place. So a fault breccia marks that boundary where the fault line is. Oh, this is the other end of the fault plane, or the fault zone, where if you look to the right, the fault plane, which is the flatter surface which we were looking at a moment ago, is the right hand end of this central section, and if we trace it over to the left up to where the steps are behind this golden Labrador, we have got the layers again not meeting up from left to right. Although it's a bit in the shadow where the steps are, or not the actual steps, sorry, there's some small shorter railing steps which are on the right. That is where the other fault plane is, where the right hand section has dropped, so you can see that the layers don't appear to be matching up. The harder material is the one to follow to see where it meets up on the other side, and the whole central section from where we're pointing over to the one about 100 yards to the right has dropped, the graben. But also on the beach here we've got the material, the rock on the sea beach, which is a wave cut platform, and on the right pointing out to sea we've got sand. So again, this is the other fault plane which meets up with the cliff nicely to show where the fault line would have been.